Hello, everyone. Welcome to Trolleheim with your host, Rabbi Anibal. The noise that you probably hear in the background is the coffee that is almost ready. I hope you're having coffee as well. If you do, let me know what kind, because I'm always curious to know what kind of coffee people are drinking, or hot chocolate or tea. But welcome, everyone. Welcome, Jerome Fomin. I'm breaking with tradition and having berry vine herbal tea today. Okay. Not my cup of tea. No pun intended. Uh, yeah. I'm having. Okay, I'll be right back. I need to get my cup. Yeah. The spoon to mix the coffee. Shelly, you're having double espresso. Yeah, this is what you use, right? Shelly, this one's the traditional Nespresso. Hi, Janet. Welcome to the class. Welcome to the class. And welcome, who's here? Ariel Lee, David, Brenda. Welcome all. Great to have you. Great to have you. And I still have my lunch that I'm going to eat after the class. Have a nice omelette for today. But today we're going to study the Parsha Toldot. Toldot, which is a good Parsha to talk about food, because this is when one of the brothers tricked the other to buy or to sell, to convince the other one to sell the firstborn rights for a plate of food. So yeah, he didn't do it for coffee, he did it for food. But cheers, everyone. Yeah, good one. Good one. Yeah, the Parsha is about Jacob and Esau and Isaac and Rebecca. Uh, it's very interesting. There are a lot of things. It's a Parsha that is very intense on feelings, where I don't know if you ever had the experience when you read the Torah, but to me, when I read this specific Torah portion, I can feel the pain on some of the characters. When Rebecca couldn't conceive, when Esau was tricked, the way he feels, the anguish. It's very well, the writing style on the Torah around those episodes is brilliant. The way it makes us feel what they felt. It is very good. Welcome, Amparo. Welcome to the class. Rabbi, that's a big cup. It's a regular espresso cup. Look. Is that the Nespresso? I have the virtual one, the one that makes a full, and the thing that you see on top is not the milk. That's just the crema of the coffee. It's fantastic. It's really, really, really good. Really good. So let's begin with the class for today, Parsha Toldot, and we have at the beginning the name of the parsha. It's Ve'ele Toldot Yitzchak ben Abraham. Abraham holid et Yitzchak. Okay. Oh, by the way, this Saturday, I'm going to teach you again about this parsha after Kiddush. Okay. It is kind of the Trolleheim that I used to do before COVID, that I used to be at the synagogue after Kiddush, but it's a slightly different format. It's going to be in the chapel, but I'm going to stream it. The only problem is I cannot guarantee at what time the stream is going to be. maybe a 1:30. Stay tuned. If you cannot make it in person, stay tuned, because if you're a subscriber, you're gonna see it going live, so you're gonna be notified about that. So just as a reminder, this Saturday after Kiddush, I'm going to do it. Okay, so Ve'ele Toldot Yitzchak ben Abraham, Abraham olid Yitzchak. It says, and these are the offspring of Isaac, son of Abraham. Abraham begot Isaac. Okay, so this is the beginning of the Parsha, understanding or letting us know that Isaac was the son of Abraham, and also to let us know, I know it's logic, right? But Abraham was the father of Isaac. But the way it says here, Abraham begot Isaac, it's like an extra emphasis on make it clear that Isaac was the biological son of Abraham. Okay? Welcome, Randy. Welcome to the class. So why do I mention this? That specific emphasis on make it clear that Isaac was a biological son of Abraham. Well, so the rabbis explain that the verse concluding words, Abraham begot Isaac, appear to be redundant, for the verse already stated that Isaac was the son of Abraham. So why do you think we have those extra words? Any guesses? Any guesses? I'm asking to you, my dear students. What's your guess on why we have those extra 3 words at the end of the verse? Abraham begot Isaac. Feel free to use the chat to let me know. Come on. I'm pretty sure that at least Jerome and Shelley will be, and Brenda, eager to offer their opinions. So let me know. Brenda, you said there were no ancestry tests then. But why do we need the affirmation? That's the question. The rabbis asked that question. Why do we need that extra affirmation if the Torah already saying that Isaac was the son of Abraham? Right? These are the offspring of Isaac, son of Abraham. In Hebrew, is Yitzchak ben Abraham. So it made it clear there. But the Torah, or God, had the need to add those extra words. Abraham holid et Yitzchak. Abraham begot Isaac. So the question is, why? Any other taker? Before I start revealing the answer? Shelley, you said. He said, pronounced paternity. The mother was not in question. Yeah, well, the mother is never in question, right? It's pretty obvious where the baby came from. It's very obvious. Janet, you said the right to the covenant. Okay. The mother was not in question. Shelley, what you said, even though I know you're laughing in your comment, you're very close of what the rabbis say here. Very close. So I'm going to go to the next slide so we can start understanding what the rabbis have to say about these 3 extra words. Okay? Now Rashi says, listen to this, the cynics of that generation had been saying that Sarah must have become pregnant by Abimelech, since she and Abraham had been married for many decades without a child, but she had given birth only after being taken by the Philistine king. Therefore, God made Isaac's features so undeniably similar to Abraham's that even the scoffers had to admit that it was indeed Abraham who begot Isaac. Okay, so this is a very interesting topic, because if you remember from previous parshiot, Abraham had 2 sticky situations regarding Sarah. The first time, remember, was involving the Pharaoh of Egypt. When there was a famine, and Abraham and Sarah, they had to go to Egypt for food. Remember what happened? That Abraham said to Sarah, let's say that you are my sister, right? Let's lie. Let's say that you are my sister. Otherwise, they're going to kill me and take you. But what happened? Effectively, Pharaoh liked Sarah very much, and then he wanted to take her for himself. So Abraham said, no, 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 she's my sister. Don't kill me. Don't kill me. I'm not her husband. Okay, it's just the brother. So Pharaoh took this, what he thought was an unmarried woman, and then God had to intervene to tell and let Pharaoh know that indeed Sarah was married to Abraham, and God said, but you're not allowed to do anything to Abraham. Okay, problem solved. But then again happened another time that Abraham and Sarah went to the land of the Philistines, and now Abimelech, the king of the Philistines, wanted Sarah for himself, and the tradition was, I take the woman, kill the husband. So Abraham again said to Sarah, okay, once again, please, let's say that you are my sister. Okay, so the king of the Philistines also took Sarah. The Torah explicitly, specifically says that nothing happened, that the king of the Philistines did not have any kind of intimacy with Sarah, but people started to talk because immediately after that episode, Sarah was pregnant with Isaac. Okay, so they said that the Torah made it clear once again, because the Torah already said after the episode of Abimelech that Abimelech did not have sex with Sarah. Okay, let's put it this way. But the Torah now, the fact that it's saying the same thing, hey, Abraham is the biological father of Isaac, implies that there were doubts. Do you understand? That's what Rashi likes to do all the time. Rashi is looking for this kind of things that, unless you're paying attention, you won't see in the Torah. So Rashi will always ask, okay, why do we have these three extra words? And then Rashi connects the dots between those three extra words and the fact that the Torah already said that nothing happened between Sarah and Abimelech. So he said, well, maybe there were doubts. And now the Torah is taking away all kind of doubts. Okay? So, Brenda, so you said, so why did Hashem have to intervene to make Isaac feature similar to Abraham? So people would stop talking. People will stop talking. Okay? And that could bring us to another topic. But that's not the scope of this class. But we could talk about, how gossip can ruin a reputation, for example, or how toxic gossip is, and how important it is once in a while to do whatever you can to stop all the gossip, which is exactly what God did by making Isaac, taking the physical genes from Abraham and look exactly like him, so people will stop talking once and for all. Okay? Brenda, you say, Sarah, wasn't it very popular? Yes. Yes, it looks like she was some kind of like a beauty pageant or something, because wherever they went, Abraham got in trouble because of his wife. So who knows? Who knows? So let's continue with this topic. Now, this thing, how the Torah, let me go back a little bit. Let me go back a little bit to here. And how said, Eli Toldot Yitzhak ben Abraham, Abraham olidet Yitzhak. The other thing that you notice here, Shelley said the family dynamics in the Torah are so popular. Absolutely, you're absolutely right. But going here, the other thing that the rabbis notice beyond this, okay, God did it to stop the gossip, is that the repetition makes the connections twofolded. What am I saying? The first time says that Yitzhak ben Abraham, Isaac, son of Abraham. The second time is Abraham, father of Isaac. Can you see that? That within the same verse, the Torah is presenting the relationship in both ways, right? One is the son of the other is the father of the other. It's very interesting. It's like, you know, you can say, you know, I am the father of somebody, and that somebody could say, no, I am the son of my father. Both say the same, but from a different perspective. It's beautiful. You know, when you have a parental relationship, you can look at it from the perspective of the father or of the parent, or you can look at it from the perspective of the child. It's very interesting. It's very interesting. So going back to here, the Midrash Rabbah is going to talk about these two ways relationships between parents and children, or children and parents, which is not the same. Not the same. Why? Listen to this. Before the Midrash Rabbah start talking about this, this is a very common methodology of Midrash Rabbah. They will never go straight into their argument explaining the text, but they usually bring a secondary text to introduce the topic, which I think is brilliant. So before Midrash Rabbah start talking about this relationship between parents and children and parents, will present the Midrash Rabbah presents this verse from the book of Proverbs, chapter 23, verse 24, that it says, Gil Yagil Avit Tzadik, Violet Chacham Ismach Bo. What that it says, let's read it in English. The father of the righteous will greatly rejoice, and he that begets a wise child will find happiness in him. Okay? Now, greatly rejoice, and I put it there in yellow, in Hebrew is Gil Yagil. The way in Hebrew to say something that is great is you repeat the word. You say it twice. That's why, for example, you will have the verse Tzedek Tzedek Tirdof, justice you shall pursue, but technically it says justice, justice. It's a repetition, right? So it is justice, justice means, great justice or just justice. So this is the same. Gil Yagil. Gil in the sense that, when we sing Gila, the Gilarina, so it's rejoice. So Gil Yagil, greatly rejoice. So the father of righteous will greatly rejoice. Okay? So the Midrash Rabbah will say, the double expression Gil Yagil teaches that there is a double joy when a righteous person is born to a righteous parent. Okay? So this is very interesting because it's talking about what in Judaism we call ichus. Have you ever heard the word ichus? If you have, I will give you a minute to type in the chat, what do you understand with the word ichus? If you heard about it, let me know. If you haven't heard the word ichus, if you haven't heard any Jew using the word ichus ever, just type there, never heard it. But if you have, let me know what your understanding. Ichus all the time? Nope, that's not what it is. Any other theory? Because this is very common, especially in the Frum, in the Orthodox world, when they want to marry, a child, that they want to know about the hijos of the other party, the bride or the groom. They want to know about the hijos. Jerome said inherited, okay, kind of, getting close. Shall judge in getting credit acknowledgement usually is the person who claims wants it. No, hijos means is used, the way it's used, hijos means the pedigree, ancestry, ancestry. So when there's somebody that it says, oh, that person has hijos, it means that it's coming from a distinguished family, okay? Has great ancestors. So, for example, let's say that you are the descendant of a great Hasidic Rebbe, for example. Maybe you are the great grandchild of a Hasidic Rebbe who used to be the Rosh Yeshiva in the town of so and so. Then I will say about you, oh, you have hijos. And then in the religious world, you have better chances to get a proper or like a good match. It's people you will be more marketable. Let's put it that way because of your ancestors. It's very interesting. So that's the hijos. Shelley, you said, in the neighborhoods I grew up in, it was used to describe someone needs for ego, but it's not that. Sometimes it's interesting. It's like your ancestors. Maybe your parents are philanthropists, right, and distinguished people in the community. So you also have hijos because of that. Have you ever heard the expression when somebody said, "Hey, hey, hey, you know who my father is"? Have you ever heard that? You know who my father is? Careful how you talk to me. You know who my father is, right? That is when sometimes we take this concept of hijos to the extreme, to the extreme. And that, yes, hijos could be a reason for uh, arrogance, and we have to be very careful with that. But let's go back to this. In other words, now Midrash Rabbi will say the double expression here, Gil Yegil, teaches that there is a double joy when a righteous person is born to righteous parents. And yeah, Brenda, ancestry does not guarantee a good person. You're absolutely right. And in fact, and I witnessed this, in fact, sometimes could be uh, a barrier, a fence, because of the pressure of ancestry. When you feel that you had the pressure to live up to the standards of your parents or grandparents, could be a source of anxiety because maybe you want to have a simple life, right? So, yeah, it could be an issue, could be a good thing. Like here, what scriptures are hinting, could be a good thing. Like when we talk about Isaac and Abraham, that they were both greats. They were both great. So if Isaac would say, my father is Abraham, it's a great thing because Isaac lived to great standards as well, right? But also think about now I mentioned hijos before. Think about the naches of Abraham looking at Isaac, right? And the fine man that he became. Also an ethical person, married to one wife, actually. Who's the only one of the patriarchs that he married only one woman, because even Abraham had a little thing here and there with Hagar, right? When Sarah couldn't conceive, Abraham tried to speed up the process and went and had something with the servant, and then eventually Ishmael born from that relationship. But Isaac, look at Isaac. Rebecca couldn't conceive, doesn't matter. He stayed with her and they went through it together. And, if somebody like Abraham would be, so proud of looking at something like that. So it's a two-way. It's a two-way things. There is proud of a child about the achievements of the parent, but there is also pride in the parents about the achievement of the children. We're going to see that in a minute because the rabbi said that they're not equal. The the pride we feel about our parent is not the same pride the parents feel about a child. Stay tuned. You're going to hear that in a minute. Okay? So let's move on. Let's move on. Because now, Rabbi Hanoch Zundel ben Yosef, listen what he said. He said, upon informing us that Isaac was Abraham's son, the verse repeats the fact that Abraham begot Isaac in order to emphasize that this was no ordinary joy, but rather the double joy of one righteous person, Abraham, fathering yet another righteous person, Isaac. Guys, this commentary here by the Etz Yosef, this is the perfect case scenario for all of us. This is what we all want. We want to be proud of our children, but we also want our children to be proud of ourselves, proud of us. But when that happened, the joy is immense, right? When we feel that we have great children, and children, they think the world about us. They are so proud of us. Because we know that there are many children that, unfortunately, they are very critical of their parents, and vice versa. So that's the reality. That's the reality. Any comments about that? I would like to know what you think about this. When you type in the chat, it's a great opportunity for me to have another sip of the coffee. I just finished the coffee, so I don't need any more breaks, but I still want to know your opinions about this. Any opinions about this concept? Because I'm going to keep bringing other opinions of other rabbis, but I want to know your opinions about this. Brenda, you said, and unfortunately, a lot of children are takers and not givers. Very good. So how do you feel as a parent about that, right? When you see a child that is a taker and you wish it would be a giver. I know it adds pain a little bit to the relationship. I know we love our children regardless, but we want to see values in our children. And unfortunately, I've also seen parents that they are more concerned about the professional success of their children than the ethical success of their children. As the rabbis keep saying, this is a two-way thing here. It's a two-way thing, because what Abraham was saying is that he was proud about the ethical success of Isaac and vice versa. Isaac was proud about the ethical success of Abraham. And that's what the rabbis are trying to teach us here with this parsha. And this is a verse that we usually don't stop to think about. The first verse of the parsha, talking about the perfect case scenario in a parent and child relationship. Shelley Chochinov, you said, true enough. Sometimes the values of the parents are not worthy of the child who might be embarrassed by them. Yeah, sometimes it happens. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes, you see, not every child has the blessing to have nice parents. It's a fact as well. But that shouldn't be an impediment for the children to develop a different kind of future for themselves and their own future children. This is a very interesting concept. So let's move on, and you will see what I'm talking about in a minute. Now, let's go back to Midrash Rabbah, and remember, as I mentioned, Midrash Rabbah never goes straight to the point, always takes a little detour, bringing another verse of scripture. So here, this other text of Midrash Rabbah will begin with Proverbs 17:6, that it says, children's children are the crown of the elders, and the glory of children are their fathers. Why is Midrash Rabbah bringing this? Because again, this is another verse that is talking about the twofold relationship. parents to children, children to parents. Okay? So, and Midrash Rabbah explains this by saying, listen to this, this is pure gold. It emerges from this verse, and the fathers are the crown of their children, and the children are the crown of their fathers. That the fathers are the crown of their children is derived from that which it states. And the glory of children are their fathers. Thus, our verse begins by stating, and these are the offspring and Isaac's son of Abraham, in order to highlight the fact that Isaac's glory was that he was a son of his righteous father, Abraham. Okay, so Isaac had plenty of reason to be proud of his hijos, right? Now, that the children are the crown of their fathers is derived from that which is written, children's children are the crown of their fathers. This accounts for the apparently redundant statement in our verse, Abraham begot Isaac, for this clause highlights the fact that it was his righteous son Isaac who was Abraham's glory. But this is very interesting because before we go to the next text, let me ask the question, why will this verse on Proverbs, and remember, the book of Proverbs is a book of wisdom, right? From Solomon. So why will it say that children's children are the crown of the elders or parents or grandparents? Okay, that's what it implies. So past generations, right? The crown. But the glory of the children are their fathers. Why wouldn't why wouldn't the verse use glory for both situations or crown for both situations? Why one is a crown and the other one is the glory? Okay? Let's try to think like Rashi here, because Rashi will find this kind of thing. That why here is his crown and why there is his glory? Why not the two are not two the same? Well, clearly not. So, but what's the difference? If you have anything to say in the chat, say it now, because next we know. I'm going to go to the next slide and all the answers are going to start to pop up. So I want to know what you think about this. What's the difference between the two relationships? Why one is a crown and the other one is a glory? Any takers? I ran out of coffee, but I can have water. No. No one. Okay? Okay. Don't feel bad. Hi, Lori. Welcome to the class. And don't worry, you missed the first part. Remember, I always rebroadcast this at 8 p.m. Central Time, or if you're a little more tech savvy, after the class is over, you can go to our YouTube channel and search for this class and you can replay it at any time. So, Shelly says at level of yichus. Levels. Okay. Okay. Very interesting. Okay. So, the question here, Lori, is we are talking about being proud of our parents or parents being proud of us. Is it the same level of pride that goes up a generation or down a generation? Because here the book of Proverbs seems to imply that it's not. One is a crown. Okay, so the children are the crown of the parents, but the parents are the glory of the children. One is a crown, the other one is the glory. What's the difference? Let's see. Now, listen to this. Rabbi Moshe Heifetz, listen to this. Distinguish lineage. Ichus, as I mentioned, is not a small virtue, okay? It's not a small virtue. But lineage is of value only if it's mutual. We have a right to take pride in our lineage only if we conduct ourselves in such a way that our ancestors will be proud of us. This could be illustrated with the following parable. Two people were engaged in a heated dispute. One was a meyuchas, comes from ichus, meyuchas, the descendants of great people. The other was an ordinary layman. The meyuchas declare indignantly, "You dare to dispute me? Don't you know who my father was? And my grandfather and great grandfather throughout the generations?" His opponent parried his thrust, saying, "True, you are the heir of nobility, but your family's lineage ended with you. My lineage will begin with me." Wow. Thus, Moses is told at the beginning of Numbers 1:4 that in counting the nation, he shall be joined by people who are Rosh Lebeit Avotav, the heads of their extended families. Homiletically, this means that those people were the heads, the beginning of distinguished family lines. In other words, what it says here is that at the time when they just left Egypt, there was no ancestry. So these people who were the Rosh Lebeit Avotav, the heads of the families, were the one who had the potential, that's what Moses was looking at, had the potential to become a role model for future generations. And yes, it is okay. It is okay to take pride in the achievements of our parents and grandparents, but it's more important for us to become a role model for our own children. And by doing that is when our parents and grandparents are proud of us. When they see that we are planting a seed into the future generations, that brings a lot of joy, a lot of happiness, because they feel that when they raised us, they did something right. Right? Yes. Naches, Lori said Naches means family pride. Yes, Naches is pride in general, the joy that comes from it. Yeah. Jerome, you said crown is the final result of the process. And Randy, you said must live up to the lineage, not use it for ego. Correct. Absolutely correct. Yeah. And that's very important for us to understand. So now listen to this. What Rabbeinu Behaye said, this is also beautiful. He says, I see the verse as indicating the merits each one can enjoy from the righteous behavior of the other. This is why King Solomon, this is now Rabbeinu Behaye is going back to the verse on Proverbs, right? That was written by King Solomon. That's why he said, this is why King Solomon. Okay, remember the verse I just read that's talking about the crown and the glory. So this is why King Solomon described the children or grandchildren as the crown of their fathers, while describing the father as he was just the glory of their children, which implies a less significant benefit than the former. The Talmud teaches that the father can be aided and saved by the merits of his son, but not vice versa. What is this? Before I continue, this is why when somebody dies, the children come to synagogue to recite the Kaddish. Because the Kaddish, there is a beautiful midrash that I say when we die, we go to heaven and we have to endure the divine trial. We present, we stand the trial and we bring with us all our good deeds and all the acts of chesed that we did during our lives and all the mitzvot that we fulfill and so forth. That is standing in front of the divine tribunal. And then the accuser will say, well, do you have anything else to say in your favor? And then we'll say, well, I know that I cannot do anything else because I died, right? But look at my children. They are still doing things the way I taught them. So those merits still also belong to me. And one of the signature is the Kaddish. And that's why the Kaddish is called, I know that, in this day when, a partner die, or a brother die, or a child die, we come and recite Kaddish, but technically the Kaddish is called Kaddish Yatom. Yatom means orphan. So the Kaddish is technically the orphan's Kaddish. So it used to be something that only the children would recite for the parents, because it was connected to the fact that the actions of the children benefit the divine trial of the parents. Okay, so that's the original story of the Kaddish Yaton, the orphan Kaddish. Or today we call it the mourner's Kaddish, but it's the orphan Kaddish. So that's what it is. So that's what it says here. That's what the Talmud said. A father can be aided and save at the merits of his sons, not vice versa. That is, a father is given significant credit for siring and raising a righteous son, so much so that even a lifelong idolater like Terach, remember who was Terach, the father of Abraham, Terach could merit a share in the world to come for having a son like Abraham. Because in other words, what is implying here is the text is implying that even though Terach was an idolater, he had to do something right to have a son like Abraham, because maybe it wasn't something right in the way Terach was relating to God, but maybe he had other values that he instilled of Abraham. Maybe he made Abraham curious, a curious mind, so that Abraham was able to discover God. Who knows? But the merits of Abraham, according to the rabbis, brought Terach, or got Terach, a ticket to the world to come, to the Olam Haba. Fascinating theory. Now, thus, the son is the father's crown. By contrast, a wayward son benefits not at all from having a righteous father. If anything, he stands to be embarrassed and hurt by this fact, since he cannot blame his faulty behavior on a weak background. If a son does not follow in his father's righteous path, he can take pride and glory in being identified together with his father as forming one continuous line of righteousness. Yeah. Shelley Chochinov, it's a gut punch when one realizes that one is an orphan no matter how old one is. Yeah, well, it's yeah. But again, the mourner's Kaddish, sometimes we don't realize that it's orphan Kaddish, in at least in, how you call it, grammatically, or semantically speaking. That's what it is, and it's blended into this thing, and how whatever we do in this world, we help, our good deeds help the people who passed away before us. So we also dedicate act of kindness to them. That's why when we, I don't know if you do this for Iskor, that we light a candle for Iskor, but we also make a donation on behalf of somebody who died. It could be your parent, grandparents, or some other person. Why is that? Because we are technically doing or making an act of kindness on their behalf. They cannot do it anymore, so we do it for them. That's why the donation that we make during Iskor, because we have the power to help the previous generations who passed away, and that is also coming from this verse, which I think is fascinating. But it's telling us about our responsibilities as children, is to make our parents proud. Is to make our parents proud. And that could means that, for example, if your parents weren't stellar, it could means, well, I can do better. And that also make them proud, because sometimes they already passed away, and now they're in a place where they realize their mistakes, right? Once we die, we know the truth. Once we die, we know the truth. But they cannot do anything to correct it now. It's too late. It's too late. But we are still here and we can do better for us and for them. And it's a beautiful thing that, sometimes we didn't get something from a previous generation, but we can be sure that we are going to be the one providing what we didn't get to our own children and grandchildren. And this is something that we can learn from this parsha. Okay? Yeah. So let's continue with this, because I have a new text for you. Um, and it's something beautiful that happened in this parsha between Isaac and Rebekah. Because, after we learn at the beginning of the parsha that Isaac was the son of Abraham, the Torah will say that Isaac also had something that it was also in common with his father, that is, his wife could not conceive. Remember, Abraham had the same issue with Sarah. And now Isaac will have the same issue with Rebekah. And the Torah says it right away. It says that Rebekah couldn't conceive, and Isaac pleaded with the Lord on behalf of his wife because she was barren. And the Lord responded to his plea, and his wife Rebekah conceived. Beautiful. Beautiful in the sense on how he felt the pain of Rebekah, and how I have no doubt that Rebekah prayed to God for a child. But he make it clear here that they both went through this process together, because it says how Isaac prayed to God on behalf of his wife. And this is more common in this day and age, where, when you will see a woman pregnant, and then both partners will say, "We are pregnant." Have you heard it? It's I don't remember hearing this from my parents' generation, for example. "Oh, she is pregnant." But now it's very common, and this is a good thing. We say we are pregnant, and we are together on this thing. It's not a woman thing. We are together in the process. So Rebekah was barren, but they were both barren technically, because they were both deprived from a child. So they both prayed to have a child, and what is implied in this verse is that, again, as I mentioned, I have no doubt that Rebekah prayed to God, but nothing happened until Isaac prayed, making it clear that they were both together expecting a child, that it wasn't just a Rebekah thing. Can you see this? That the Torah make this connection? That Rebekah was praying for a child, but nothing happened until Isaac and Rebekah were in this together. And that's when she became pregnant and conceived. Brenda says, why is assumed that Rebekah couldn't conceive and Isaac not being able to deliver? It just, there's no assumption here. It's no assumption. I mean, except that the Torah explicitly says that she was barren. Otherwise, without the Torah saying it, we couldn't tell. Because it's not that Isaac had another child somewhere else, like Abraham, for example. Because in Abraham, because he had Ishmael with Hagar, then he could deliver, right? But with Isaac, we wouldn't know. But the Torah made it clear, but stating she was barren. Okay? But regardless of that, it's interesting, when he got involved into praying to God for the baby, that's when she conceived. Very interesting. Very interesting. So, in other words, listen, Sforno said it beautifully. He said, even though he had been given an assurance from God, he is Isaac, right? Even though Isaac had been given an assurance from God that he will produce seed, that he will have children, he prayed to God that the mother of his child or children should be someone who was meritorious, someone of the caliber of Rebecca, who was present and standing opposite him. So, in other words, according to Sforno, maybe Isaac thought, maybe crossed his mind, maybe I should do what my father did, right? After all, Abraham was an amazing guy. He couldn't have a baby with Sarah, so he went and had a baby with one of the maidservants, with Hagar. Maybe I should do the same, but eventually, what Forno says is no. No. What this parsha is telling us, but the fact that it's saying that Abraham was praying to God, is that Abraham said, no, I don't want anyone else. Rebecca is the one. I married her because of her values. I like the way she is. She will be the perfect mother. So Isaac prayed, please God, I know you promised me that I'm going to have descendants and it's going to be a great nation and blah, blah, blah. It has to be Rebecca. So he prayed to God exactly that. It has to be Rebecca. Welcome, Eric. Welcome to the class. So, to the point, it says, the word lenochach is often translated as on behalf. That's the text that I read, right? That Isaac prayed on behalf of Rebecca. That Isaac prays on behalf of his wife. However, it can also be translated as together, meaning that just as Rebecca was barren, so too was Isaac. And thus, both Isaac and Rebecca besieged God for a child. As Rashi noticed in his commentary to the Torah, this one stood in this corner and prayed. This one stood in that corner and prayed. And that was the beauty of the relationship that Isaac and Rebecca had. And again, this is something that we don't talk nearly enough. And how, even though the Torah allows men to marry multiple women, Isaac didn't need that. All he wanted was to have a child with Rebecca, with his beloved wife. He didn't want another one because he knew that something good was going to come about the values. And it wasn't perfect, as we're going to study, later on the Parsha, that Jacob and Esau, right? They gave their headaches to the parents, but at the end of the day, it was Rebecca's intervention who prevented Isaac to give a blessing to the wrong child. So Isaac was right to say it has to be Rebecca. So they both prayed together to have a child, and it was a beautiful thing. So, yeah, this is what I wanted to teach you guys. And as I mentioned, I'm going to teach more about this parsha, specifically about the relationship between the two children, because she's going to conceive twins, right? Jacob and Esau. And the dynamics between these two was very interesting. So that is going to be my class this Saturday after Kiddush. So if you can come here, if you can come in person to the synagogue, please do. Please do. If you cannot come in person, it's going to be streamed. I like streaming things. So it's going to be at what time? Let me see here. I'm checking here the calendar. I don't remember at what time it's going to be. Where is it? Let me see on my calendar for Saturday. Well, it doesn't say it in the calendar. But Trust me, we have. I can't remember if it's at 1 or 1:30 that we are having the class after the service. Yep. Yeah. It's one-ish. I think it was 1 or 1:30. Yeah, I know this after Kiddush. Um, and there was an email going on. Um, let's see. Oh, Kiddush Club. 1:15. 1:15. Ha! Found it. 1:15, guys. So remember, 1:15, I'm going to teach more about this parsha. So whatever you can to come in person, otherwise it's going to be streamed. So we're going to continue with the next topic of this parsha, which is the life of Jacob and Esau and the connection between them and the tradition of bar mitzvah. Huh! Stay tuned. You will see that on Saturday. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. If you missed any part of this class, don't worry. Don't worry. This class is going to be rebroadcasted tonight at 8 p.m. Central Time. Okay, so I'm going to stream the recording of this class again so you can catch all what you missed. Please give us the thumbs up to this video. Thumbs up, everyone. Facebook, YouTube, that's one where you can give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't done so, please subscribe to our channels and then hit the bell so you're going to be notified every time we go live or every time we upload a video to our channels. Okay? Thank you again. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Stay safe. Hope to see you soon. Bye, everyone.